Oh, man. I really, in this day and age, with everything that is taking place politically, culturally, socially, economically, spiritually, psychologically, I really wish my enemies told me that they were actually my enemies. But unfortunately, we no longer live in that day and age. Like the 1980s movies, where it's like very clear who the protagonist is and it's very clear who the antagonist is. And the enemy shows themselves, and there's almost like some like an air of nobility and honor in the whole idea of the enemy being the enemy, like Lex Luthor or the Joker. But not so much in this day and age. Now the enemies, play as your friends, your companions, your whatever. And then down the line, you have to, through discernment, figure out that those people were not, in fact, they were your frenemies, right? And that term is actually quite new. That really wasn't a term until at least well after the early 2000s. But that's what I mean. I really wish my enemies told me that they were so. Because it's disheartening for me to keep finding out that so and so was not who they said that they were, and I feel like a lot of people can relate to me on that one, especially with the commander-in-chief being who he was, and me voting for the man twice, and presumably others that watch my stuff may have likely voted for him, and we all feel sort of a sense of betrayal, right? Well, the same is the case, and the same can be applied today when it comes to modern friendship, modern relationships, modern acquaintanceships. There's different terms to relationships now. People are in like situationships now. There's open relationships. But my point is the nature of warfare, psychological warfare, the nature of social warfare has truly changed. And I think that was consequent of technology and how it's increased in its overall sophistication in the last 20 plus years. And with the advent of internet and technology in 2026, fast forward all these years later, we have almost like too much technology, and we're going to get to that later on. But we got people saying, people ending up being not who they say they are, and your enemies being your friends and your friends being your enemies and vice versa. Because some of my biggest fans and some of my biggest friends are actually stranger adjacent to me, given everything that I've had to say since 2018. I keep my circle tight for a reason. But now we got grifters coming online and welcoming me to the New World Order. Oh, gee willikers, thanks for the invitation, fuckface. Really? Me? You're gonna give little old me an invitation to the New World Order? Wow, that's really considerate of you. Yeah, we got online, Ebro grifters welcoming me to the New World Order. Oh, the chutzpah, Meshuggah. Oh, the chutzpah, the nerve of these people. Who do these people think they are? That's the other thing. I go online and there's these Johnny-come-lately, I got red-pilled 5 minutes ago influencers that magically got 67,000 subscribers and followers overnight, which is also suspicious. We'll get into that later. But they want to welcome me to the New World Order and all that it has to offer. And for many of you who have been following along with me for as long as they have, they could probably only imagine how animated that really gets me when I've barely woken up and I'm still, having my caffeine. And there's this new suggested page, because by the way, they suggest these pages to me. These Johnny come lately, I just got red pilled 5 minutes ago, I just learned about the New World Order 5 minutes ago types. And then they magically overnight have 70,000 likes and subscribers and everything. And we all just think that's because he was such a wholesome fucking... He was so wholesome and he was such a cool guy, and he riffed that hard that he just got that magically overnight. We'll talk about that in a second in Controlled Opposition. But yeah, the Johnny come lately the New World Order bandwagoneers want to welcome somebody such as myself to the New World Order. Holy shit. And believe me, like when I saw that, I was like, fuck, I'm gonna have to make a video today. I know that a lot of these dudes or women, I know that most of them more or less mean well. They want to be a part of the Great Awakening or the second modern Great Awakening with Wi-Fi. They want to be a part of the second American Renaissance, but with Wi-Fi. And I can understand the noble desire to awaken the masses to the New World Order. After all, I'm not saying that I should be the only voice or the bullhorn or the only one who actually gets to talk about the New World Order, but these are the type of people that would make you think that they were the first ones to learn about what the New World Order even was. When I was talking about the New World Order since about 2018, and in fairness, I know people that knew about the New World Order like when I was in diapers. I'm not actually claiming to have known about it for the longest time in the world, but with what I've actually revealed to all of you in the past few of my presentations, it's obviously something that is quite relevant to why it is I come on here and do exactly what it is that I do. But yeah, like when I see these people go online and welcome me to the New World Order, as if I had a lot of like learning to do, right? Even though, yeah, like I have probably like 70,000 plus hours of research into what are extra geopolitical topics, meaning that they're so highly geopolitical that they actually go above and beyond the traditional capacities of the politics that we all see on our TV screens and what we all see scrolling on our phones. I'm talking about the politics that are so behind the scenes that they're extra geopolitical. And my goal on here is to awaken the average asleep, otherwise NPC goy up to the New World Order and the push for a one world government through things like the Green New Deal, Agenda 2030, the Great Reset, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, whatever you want to call it. I want to wake people up to that, and I'm not saying that I want to be the only person who gets to be the bullhorn on the New World Order, but you have these fucking grifters who would have you think that they were the only ones who knew about this and that they're the ones who are in control of the 411 and they're in control of the latest news drops, and then they have a fucking hat and a t-shirt to sell you to go with it. And it's not that I'm knocking the hustle, I'm just saying that do not be this person who tries to gatekeep the information or try to sit on the information. After all, we are at war, and we're supposed to sort of be working around the clock to get the news out in a way that we know it's not getting out on the TV screen, which is why we have to get extra geopolitical in our overall pursuit of the truth in the face of propaganda that is coming from both sides of the aisle. And that's the other thing that I see when I go on social media is I still see people using right wing and left wing. It's still a part of their vocabulary. And for me, that really, it causes me to just really fucking, like, I try to maintain my composure and I try not to curse, believe me. But when I go on and I see people still trapped within this right-wing, left-wing paradigm, I can't help but hold back my frustration, my disdain for the fact that people have not realized that it's really just us versus them. But we still got people out here talking about political candidates as though they are consequential. Now we'll get to Dan Bilzerian later because he is a special exception to the rule in what I'm talking about. But, I still, even after everything that I shared about the New World Order and my great-grandfather, another thing that's really frustrated me, on top of the whole everybody still being caught within the right-wing, left-wing paradigm and whether this politician or whether this Zionist pedophile is going to be better than this Zionist, whatever. I still have to talk to people about who my great-grandfather was in terms of what capacity he served at in Washington, D.C., like they are a fucking 5-year-old. And it's either because they're sort of paying attention, but not really. And then it's like, well, dude, if you're fucking paying attention, but you're not really paying attention, and then I have to further elaborate on the most important fucking points of why I even come on here and do this to begin with, then you shouldn't watch my shit to begin with. But I got these people who come on and presumably watch my stuff and actually attempt to retain the information, but then still ask me, wait, what did your great-grandfather do again? I just don't know, like, at what capacity or what influence he had or, dude, he fucking controlled the War Department like a fucking puppet on strings. And I made that abundantly clear time and time again. He had such a high fucking security clearance that he didn't even need a TS1. He didn't even need a TC1 security clearance. It was in a class of his own. He controlled FDR like a fucking puppet. He pointed to FDR on the chest and said, listen here, little buddy, this is how it's going to go. These are the policies you're going to adopt. And in turn, my great-grandfather wrote the fucking doctrine, originally called World Peace Through World Law, but then over time, through rebranding, it was then called the New World Order per an Indiana Law Review article in 1944, and that's how the term was originally coined, the New World Order. It was taken from that article in the Indiana Law Review. But I still have to fucking talk to people like they're 5 in terms of what my great-grandfather did and at what capacity he served. He was FDR's private advisor, kitchen cabinet advisor, which means he was so fucking high up and so private and so elite that it was off the books, so that when they wanted to implement the Federal Reserve world government in the draft, nobody would know who this fucker even was. And that's why he preferred being behind the scenes. And I guess that's why people still have to ask me the most amateur questions when it comes to my great-grandfather in the New World Order. And yeah, it was fucking infuriating, dude. I shouldn't have to fucking talk to people like they're 5. Either consume my fucking shit or keep it moving. And then on top of it, I screen recorded recently, some conversations that were pretty open format, discussing the war in the Middle East, but, Iran versus Israel. And I found a few conversations between Dan Bilzerian and Jake Shields, and a prominent Zionist podcaster voice. And I'm trying to put that up so that people can actually hear and see what a discussion looks like in 2026 about the war between Iran and Israel. But of course, social media is causing me a lot of problems when it comes to that. And it's really spooky because social media doesn't normally give me many issues when it comes to uploading. It only decides to give me issues when it comes to a specific topic. So when I attempted to upload Dr. Shiva, the inventor of the email, who has 9 masters from MIT, who I personally talked to, by the way, Dr. Shiva went on Jake Shields' podcast, episode 189, and they literally talked all about the origins of Zionism and the origins of how everything with that became all corrupt. And they really broke it all down for you so that the average person can figure out that when we talk about Zio supremacy, we're not actually talking about the whole of we're not talking about the whole of the Jewish people. We're talking about Talmudic, Zionist, Rabbinical, Khazarian, Ashkenazi Zionism. That's what we are talking about. We're not talking about the whole of the Jewish people. We're talking about a very specific group of people that existed in Eastern Europe and were kicked out by the Tsar for practicing disgusting things that I can't really get too specific on. I think you know what it is. It has to do with the little ones. And then they moved throughout the world and they went into all the other major world religions, which is the other thing. Zionism's not an ethnicity or a race, it's an ideology. And you don't actually have to be Jewish to be a Zionist, but we're being called anti-septics by people like Mark Levin for pointing that out. See, we're criticizing something that's not actually the whole of the Jewish people, but we're still being called on the back end anti-whatever for breaking down and discerning what it actually is. And that's what this conversation between Dr. Shiva of MIT and Jake Shields is all about. But when I attempted to upload that, I suddenly have data storage problems. And as a result, social media will not allow me to upload these videos because of data storage issues when I can prove to you mathematically that it's impossible. So now they're pulling fuckery on my phone. And it happens anytime I bring up my great-grandfather. It happens anytime I bring up the New World Order. It happens anytime I bring up systems approaches, bottoms-up system approaches to fighting entrenched establishment power. My phone totally shuts down and freezes up, and all my applications suddenly don't work. And this isn't to be boastful, but I have the latest iPhone, and I've used it pretty responsibly and have taken care of it, and I don't store too many photos and videos. All of these monologues that I do, when I upload them, I actually delete them after I send them to another location on an external drive so that I still have them, but not on my phone. So my point is that they're telling me that I have data storage issues even when I do go in and clean out my cache and my cookies and my history and my this and my that. And then when I go to upload something like Dr. Shiva, the inventor of email of MIT, who has 6 master's degrees, talking to a world-class mixed martial arts and Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter about bottoms-up system approaches to combating entrenched establishment powers, suddenly my phone data storage acts up and I don't have enough fucking data or storage to upload that video. But if it was a communist if it was a video promoting any of the blasphemous 7 deadly sins, it would upload like that. But anytime I upload something that's actually educational and useful to the otherwise deceived goy, suddenly I have data storage issues. And you could probably see why that would fucking piss anybody off who actually does work at something that would otherwise be known as journalism. At least honest journalism, because real journalism, as it pertains to the legacy establishment media and the Associated Press, has long been dead. And I don't think that the economy is actually going to improve. That's the other black pill to the otherwise sea of red pills that I have for you. I don't think the economy is getting better, and now we can see that at the gas pump. And that's because of the disaster that we have created in the Strait of Hormuz, which is only going to intensify, by the way. We got false flag attacks once again. We deserve better lies and better psyops, because that correspondent dinner, that dude's name, the guy who carried out that attack, that dude's name was searched 12 times in Israel the night before that whole correspondent dinner snafu. And he had an IDF shirt on, Israeli Defense Forces shirt on, in social media posts, a few months prior to that whole thing. So we deserve better psyops and better lies. And I'm not even going to give that topic too much of a talking time. I'm not going to even give it that much justice, because I'm not going to have my intelligence insulted in even doing the topic that much justice and continuing to talk about it. And I know that I've smashed elective politics and the idea of the two-party system, because I truly, to this day, still feel like it is very much dead. But on the brighter side, as far as Florida politics are concerned, we got Dan Bilzerian running for the 6th congressional seat of Florida against Fat Randy Fine, the Zio subversive, who has been caught on camera committing political crimes, who wants to adopt Noahide laws so that when you criticize him sending your kids to the meat grinder to be killed for a greater Israel, he will then imprison you. Just like now, the parents of fallen service members in Iran, if they go out and say how they lost their kids in Iran, and they don't say that it's classified, they're now going to face prison time for telling the rest of the country that they lost their kids in Iran to this war. And now they're going to be arrested. This is full-on faggot censorship. This is literally the opposite of what the fuck we voted for. This is not the golden age. They deceived you. They played us. Stop acting any fucking different. Now, Dan Bilzerian is a beacon of hope and truth and light in a fucking sea of Zio criminals on both sides who wish to subvert your rights even further by adopting Noahide laws to tone police your speech and what you say online and what you say online. We all need to watch what we're saying. Fuck you. Fuck you. I'm so sick of this too. This tone policing online. And a lot of this, we need to watch our tone and we need to watch our speech is horse shit. And I can tell you exactly where it comes from. It comes from these fake Christians that want to blindly love everybody and ooey gooey booey, kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya. And they all want to fucking, be in kumbaya land and love on everybody. That shit is going to get you fucking killed in this day and age. You got to pick a side, dude. We can't be going around and just loving everybody because it, we want to seem like we're holier than thou and the salt of the earth and this, that, and the other. And well, I can understand and appreciate having a love for God and all that, and I know I'm swearing in this, and I know that's not necessarily the greatest thing, but in this day and age, with all that's going on, I think we can kind of get over it a little bit. I think we can kind of grow up a little, can't we? But like, we need to stop tone policing men for being frustrated when we have no fucking shortage of reasons not to be. But yeah, this tone policing that's going on, and it's the same Christians who buy the greatest ally narrative. It's the same Christians who tell you to look the other way when it comes to the Epstein files and the current president-in-chief. And these are the same people who probably got vaccinated. Yeah, these are like the center of the aisle, degenerate, boomer, conservative cocksuckers who fucking want to tell you how you should talk and what you should say online. And they're trying to tone police the younger generation as we begin to notice more and more what we're noticing about elective politics and about what's actually going on with respect to the Middle East. And why we seem to be beholden to a bloodthirsty nation state who is openly getting away with crimes, in which members of our military are now being ruined for criticizing and making light of. This country has been raped. But how dare you go online and use naughty language? How dare you go online and use foul language while your country literally gets tricked out by cannibal apist animals who are hell-bent on hurting little ones? And these are the same people who, dude, these people would go and instead of fight Goliath, these are the kind of Christians that would bake cookies for Goliath. No, but they'll still claim that they believe in fighting Goliath, but only in a certain context. And only in a certain time, and then they'll throw a lot of this Judeo, psychobabble, mumbo-jumbo garbage at you to get you back into your place of fucking subservience while the synagogue of Satan continues to rape your fucking country, and people still listen to guys like Graham Allen and Joel Osteen. I mean, goodness gracious. And you want to talk to me like I'm the crazy one? You want to talk to me like I'm someone who's off my rocker? Holy shit. And this day and age is also characteristic of something else that I want to touch on. And that's that, like it used to be back in the day that, and I'm talking way back in the day, I'm talking like, 50s, 60s, because, even now there's still a lot of this BS going on, but it used to be more so that back in the day, the folks that were well-to-do or had tons of money, they worked very hard, they were honest, they were straight-shooting people, they really did bleed and get their hands dirty, and this, that, and the other. But nowadays, that's not really the case. Nowadays, like when you look at American elective politics, what you see is a lot of losers with power, like a lot of losers with money and power. That's what this is we grew up, I was like the last of the generation. I don't think it's much with this generation, maybe even more so with the previous generation. But I was the last of this generation who truly kind of got finger wagged at like what success looks like. In other words, doctor, lawyer, engineer, this, that, and the other. But now with the advent of AI, which we'll touch on in a second, like we're now seeing a day and age where people are just kind of like rich and famous for being rich and famous. And that's what I mean. We have a lot of losers in power with money that are controlling our culture, our way of life. And it brings home my point in many videos prior to this about why it is that I didn't want to partake in, the white collar part of society, taking the SATs, wearing the suit and tie, getting the vaccines, wearing the masks, And I talked a lot about why I didn't early on embark on that journey of climbing the rat race and trying to make partner at the big firm in town, and how that had a lot of grave implications for me as far as my future was concerned. But like now all of that is coming home to roost, because like I said in my last video, we've been finger wagged at what success and what prestige looks like and this, that, and the other. But meanwhile, the people that we were all told who our heroes ought to be, the very people that we were told are successful, are aping young ones and doing all this horrible stuff and eating meat of us and drinking stuff from us and doing all these horrible things. Yet these were the same people that we were told we ought to be like. And that's the other damning part about this day and age in which we live. So we still have a lot of bullshit. We got people welcoming me to the New World Order. My God, bunch of fucking clowns. Yeah, you're welcoming me to the New World Order. It's like welcoming Whoopi to IHOP, bro. But anyways, Iran's still doing a lot better than you think they are, even though Fox News pushes on with that fake propaganda that we're supposedly winning. Yeah, we're winning so hard that we keep having to send more and more personnel and equipment over there. Yeah, we're winning so hard. And J.D. Vance got demoted. It's not very big news to me because, I really don't care about the guy. He was skull and bones, Yale, by the way. So a little slow in terms of the news. The Secretary of War got his ass handed to him on a silver platter by Dan Bilzerian. If you live in Florida, I encourage you to vote for Dan Bilzerian, 6th congressional seat of Florida. I can't have criminal Zio subversives like Randy Fine in there. And anybody who's voting for Randy Fine, they probably buy the greatest ally narrative, and they're probably awfully vaccinated too. I don't even like saying that fucking word on here. But anyways, I hope you all have a lovely, lovely evening. I've lost my voice now. And I will see you all soon. I might have some more chapters of that book coming because the more and more I read that book, there's more and more damning information that actually pertains to what's going on. Anyways, I'll have more soon.